Ladies and gentlemen, listen closely, because what I am about to tell you might permanently alter the way you look at your deepest pain. The exact moment someone betrays you, especially a person who swore they loved you, it feels as though your entire world has shattered beyond repair. But what if that sudden act of betrayal was never meant to be your destruction, but rather the quiet beginning of their complete undoing and your own true awakening? What if the very event intended to crush your spirit turned out to be the exact turning point where everything shifted back in your favor? Stay with me until the very last second of this video, because this is not merely a story about emotional loss, but a powerful revelation about strength, ultimate clarity, and the quiet victory that arrives when you finally see through the illusion and choose yourself first. Betrayal carried out by a narcissist is never a demonstration of real power. No matter how confidently they put on their theatrical act or how justified they pretend to be. On the surface level, their sudden exit can look calculated, bold, and dominant, making it seem like they hold every single card, deciding when to discard you and who deserves their devotion. Yet underneath that polished theatrical performance lies pure fear, fragile insecurity, and a total inability to sustain a genuine connection. A narcissist betrays you not because they are winning at life, but because they are rapidly losing control over the carefully crafted story they desperately rely on to survive day after day. When they feel exposed or emotionally overwhelmed, betraying you becomes their quick escape route rather than their great triumph. True inner strength protects, endures, and accepts full accountability, whereas betrayal does the exact opposite by shattering trust and tearing down the foundation the narcissist secretly depended on all along. They convince themselves that cutting you off demonstrates their ultimate independence, but it actually exposes their total dependence on continuous manipulation just to feel superior. In that immediate moment of betrayal, they experience a quick rush of relief, mistaking basic emotional avoidance for true personal freedom, yet that temporary feeling vanishes quickly. What follows is a slow and persistent decay of their internal world, because they intentionally destroyed the one genuine bond that kept them anchored to reality. Their path towards self-destruction rarely looks dramatic at the start, as it begins very quietly while they trade deep meaning for shallow distractions and swap true intimacy for fleeting validation. They go on to repeat this exact same cycle with new people, yet each fresh attempt feels less satisfying, more exhausting, and completely hollow inside. Betrayal teaches them absolutely nothing except how to run away faster from their own shadow, and over time, their fake mask grows heavier while their loneliness becomes unbearable. They eventually face the unavoidable reality that they never gained power by betraying someone who truly cared, but instead dismantled the only real structure holding their life together. Their single greatest miscalculation is assuming you were weak, because a narcissist never betrays someone they consider insignificant, but rather someone whose depth and emotional intelligence secretly terrifies them. From the very beginning, they completely underestimated you, simply because your strength did not need to shout or act aggressively to prove itself. You showed up consistently with honesty, believing in real connection, which to a narcissist looks like vulnerability ripe for exploitation. They foolishly assumed your kindness was submission, that your endless patience meant you would tolerate infinite abuse, and that your deep empathy guaranteed unlimited second chances. What they failed to comprehend is that genuine people do not stay because they are helpless, but because they value bonds and believe in human growth. When that faith is shattered one too many times, it does not destroy them, but instead awakens a fierce internal clarity. While the narcissist was busy testing your limits and crossing every line to see how much pain you could endure, you were quietly observing and learning who they truly were. Every broken promise sharpened your awareness, and every cold, dismissive comment strengthened your intuition until you were far stronger than they realized. By the time the final betrayal took place, you were already standing on solid ground while they were preparing to scramble to protect their fragile public image. You began rebuilding your life from absolute truth while they continued chasing meaningless external validation, having permanently lost the only person capable of loving them beyond their artificial performance. That loss is not loud or dramatic in the moment, but it remains permanent and haunts them long after you have moved on to better things. The moment they underestimated your resilience was the exact moment everything began turning against them in slow motion. Every attempt to twist reality only worked while you doubted yourself. But once your awareness kicked in, their clever tactics suddenly looked completely desperate. Manipulation only thrives in total darkness, and your newfound clarity acts as a powerful light that dissolves their mind games entirely. You did not need to engage in loud arguments or prove anything, because their own repetitive patterns eventually exposed their deep insecurities for everyone to see. This realization marks the definitive turning point that narcissists never truly recover from, because once you see through the illusion, their control evaporates completely. You stopped reacting to their deliberate provocations, replaced desperate pleading with calm questions, and pulled your energy back to focus on your own well-being. In those silent moments, their perceived power disappeared, not because you attacked them back, but because you stopped feeding the fantasy they depended on to function. Exposure does not always happen in a public scene, as the most devastating collapse occurs internally when you view them with total detachment and zero desire to fix them. You saw them clearly without anger or desperation, stripping away their leverage and turning their dramatic threats into meaningless noise. Narcissists do not fall apart when you confront them verbally, but rather when they realize they have been completely seen for who they truly are. Once that fake image shatters, the emotional reflection they relied on to feel important disappears forever, leaving them stranded in deep confusion. They convinced themselves that you were easily replaceable and that anyone could step into your shoes, believing that attention is identical no matter where it originates. However, simple distraction is not the same as genuine restoration, because new faces can never replicate the deep history, trust, and effortless safety you provided. What they permanently lost was familiarity, depth, and the rare comfort of being truly understood without needing to put on a constant show. Without your grounding presence, they begin to drift aimlessly, feeling disoriented as their artificial charm grows increasingly forced and exhausting. The applause from strangers no longer satisfies them because it does not come from the person who once believed in their true potential before the mask slipped off. Losing you meant destroying the vital emotional feedback loop that kept their internal emptiness manageable, leaving behind a deafening silence that frightens them deeply. Narcissists dread silence above all else because it forces them to sit alone with their true selves, completely stripped of external validation. Their downfall is rarely an overnight event, unfolding instead as a gradual realization that by pushing you away, they close the door on the best thing in their life. On the surface, their day-to-day life might appear completely unchanged as they perform for the world, but underneath, a quiet erosion has already taken hold. Without the emotional anchor you provided, their internal void expands relentlessly, making social interactions feel hollow and laughter feel completely rehearsed. The validation they endlessly chase yields shorter moments of relief, turning their search for connection into a frustrating cycle of irritation and mood swings. Others begin to sense their underlying instability, while the narcissist experiences regret not as genuine remorse, but as constant restlessness and silent comparison. They replay past memories in a desperate attempt to recreate the effortless warmth you gave them, only to find that frustration turns inward when they fail. While you are steadily building internal peace, the narcissist erodes from within, burning bridges and repeating the same toxic cycles faster than ever before. In the quiet space left behind, Your pain transforms into deep wisdom and self-trust, while they remain trapped in continuous denial. Pain faced with total honesty demands answers, pushing you to examine your boundaries, learn from past mistakes, and reclaim the lost parts of yourself. Your healing process does not need to announce itself loudly, as it shows up naturally through firm boundaries, emotional discernment, and serene inner quiet. You move forward because you were willing to process difficult feelings, whereas the narcissist remains frozen in place because accountability threatens their fragile ego. Authentic love is not a cheap commodity that can be replaced on demand, and the depth, patience, and loyalty you offered are exceptionally rare in this world. As they jump from one surface-level connection to another, every new person is secretly measured against the unconditional safety you once provided. While they wander around chasing faint echoes of what they destroyed, you are busy constructing a stable, fulfilling life built on mutual respect and self-love. You ultimately discover that pain processed honestly becomes absolute freedom, leaving the narcissist trapped forever in the prison of their own making. Bitterness becomes a heavy weight that drags them deeper into isolation, while your choice to heal sets you completely free from the emotional wreckage they left behind. When a narcissist causes harm, their entire coping mechanism relies on shifting the blame onto someone else, rewriting history so they can continue viewing themselves as the innocent victim of circumstance. They cling to grudges and construct elaborate lies because facing the reality of their own actions would completely shatter their fragile self-image. That denial acts as an invisible prison, keeping them stuck in a perpetual loop of suspicion, resentment, and hostility toward the world around them. Every single time they refuse to take responsibility, they add another brick to the wall, separating them from genuine happiness, ensuring that their future looks identical to their past. You, on the other hand, chose the far braver path of processing your grief, allowing the raw pain to pass through you until it transformed into unwavering wisdom. You did not let their betrayal poison your heart or dictate how you treat future opportunities for joy. By choosing clarity over bitterness, you unlocked a level of freedom they will never understand, leaving them trapped in the dark room of their own unaddressed insecurities. The shift in energy between you and the narcissist becomes absolute over time, creating a massive gulf that no amount of lingering curiosity or hoovering attempts can ever bridge. While they are busy rehearsing new lines for their next unsuspecting target, you are quietly erecting boundaries that make you completely immune to their emotional games. The very tactics that used to keep you awake at night, the silent treatment, the subtle put-downs, the deliberate jealousy, triggers now read as transparent cries for attention from an emotionally stunted individual. You no longer feel the urge to explain your worth, defend your choices, or correct their distorted version of the truth, because you have realized that their opinion of you was never based on reality in the first place. Your complete indifference is the ultimate consequence of their choices, proving that their power existed entirely within your willingness to participate in their drama. Once you withdraw your attention, their influence vanishes into thin air, leaving them to face the overwhelming quiet of a life empty of your light. As you continue stepping further into your personal power, the contrast between your soaring growth and their static existence becomes impossible to ignore for anyone watching from the outside. People who once witnessed your struggle begin to notice the serene confidence in your eyes, the calm strength in your voice, and the effortless way you navigate life without needing validation from toxic sources. You start attracting high-value individuals who respect your boundaries, honor your feelings, and match the emotional depth you bring to every interaction. Meanwhile, the narcissist continues their desperate search for fresh validation, moving through life like a ghost in a crowd of temporary acquaintances who only like the artificial personality they display. The illusion they work so hard to maintain starts crumbling around them as people inevitably catch glimpses of the anger, jealousy, and emptiness hiding just beneath the surface. They end up surrounded by surface-level relationships that offer no real security, permanently haunted by the memory of the one person who truly cared for them without condition. The most profound realization of your journey comes when you look back at the betrayal and see it not as a devastating loss, but as the moment your life was saved from a lifetime of emotional breadcrumbs. The narcissists believed they were stripping away your joy when they walked away or forced a discard, yet they were actually removing the single biggest obstacle standing between you and your true potential. Without their constant noise, critical comments, and unpredictable mood swings draining your energy, your spirit naturally expands, allowing you to build a life filled with genuine peace, creativity, and self-respect. You come to understand that the betrayal was never really about your lack of value, but rather their absolute inability to handle real value when it was placed directly in their hands. That understanding brings a deep, permanent sense of relief that settles in your heart, replacing old doubts with unshakable confidence in your future. Walk forward with a clear vision, fully aware that the person who tried to break you only succeeded in helping you step into the strongest, most authentic version of yourself.